When heavy rain relentlessly hammered the Dalmally area, bursting the angry banks of the raging River Orkney and herding most people into their safe, cosy homes, it was a totally different story for crofter Stuart Underwood at nearby Strumilken, who was out in the worst of it, saving his cattle and twice himself from the torrents of water flooding through the usually peaceful valley. My name's Kathy Griffiths, and I joined Stuart later on one of his crofts to hear him recall some of what happened that day.
Because this is the river here, and the water was, the force through here was tremendous, like a hell of a run of water. Like it's, I don't know how strong the current was, but I managed to get down all right. But then when I came back, I got washed away again, like. And I managed to again hold on to a tree and pull myself up.
What was going through your mind? This was the second time that you'd been sort of washed away. Can you put into words what was going through your mind at that point?
At that time I had my buoyancy suit on, so I didn't, even though I'd got down all right, it's on my way, but I wasn't really expecting to get washed away, but I kind of lost my footing. But there was I felt a bit insecure then, because there's not so much to grab onto there, and it's not a nice bit of ground this here, because it's quite a deep leader, quite a big deep drain. So I didn't feel that great about it. But then I kind of managed to grab onto a tree, then I managed to swim and get myself up in the bank and follow the fence line across, and then get over the fence and walk up the road.
But you could have lost your life.
I could have lost my life a couple of times, like, easily. But I don't know, it just seems, everyone just seems to go out the window. They just seem to think about the cattle, like, because Ishabel and her son were there, they'd come down so far with the Land Rover, they just stopped at the water line, but I don't think they even noticed that I'd been swept away. So I came and told them, I said, the water's too deep. And they said, well, try in 2 hours time. So I managed to get across at 6 o'clock at night. I went back down, and then I got across. I seen all Ishabel. I thought all Ishabel's cattle were there. Like, I seen all the cattle, then I seen calves. I had 4 calves here, plus this wee black and white heifer. But 2 of them were on the other side, inside this fence line here. But I'd taken the snips with me, so I snipped the fence and I put all the cattle together. So they're kind of moving in one mob, and I thought it'd give the young calves a bit more security, like. But the water was still too deep. I wouldn't have been happy in trying to drive them across, because the current was running. It was really fast, the current. So then I came back down at 8 o'clock at night, and then it had been dropping by then, but it was still quite. Cows, Ishabel's cows and calves would have probably crossed without too much trouble, but because this is, if the calves and cows had gone here, there was nothing for them. It was quite a rip going through here, like, so I didn't really want to risk it, like. So I said, was that 8 o'clock at night? But that. So all Ishabel's cattle were there. They were quite settled. They weren't as stressed as my calves. My calves were all missing their mothers, like, especially the wee one. So I think it was 8 o'clock at night we decided, look, enough's enough. The wee calf was crying out for his mother, like, it's just less than 2 months old. It's obviously hungry, confused, stressed. It'd been 12 hours without seeing its mother, like, so it was. And there was 3 wee kind of cross-islander calves as well, who. Lynn calves were just, they were pretty unsettled as well. But they were trying to get across the water, but the water was just too deep. So we left to that, and I came home. I fed the ones at home, and then that night I couldn't really sleep. I was quite stressed. So in the morning time I went back down. You can tell by my watch, my movements.
So this would have been the Monday morning?
The Monday morning I went down, and the 4 calves had actually moved into this corner here, because I'd moved the cows that were in here on the Sunday morning. I moved them into a park up here, so the calves had come down, walked along there, and they were in there at back at 6 on Monday morning. So I managed to I managed to drive them from there up the road. Initially they went along here, but I drove them back, and then I eventually got them home along the road before 7 in the morning, and got them in with their mothers again.
What was that like, that moment when you got them back with their mums?
It's hard to explain, but it's just so much joy.
This podcast was presented by Kathy Griffiths. The contributor was Stuart Underwood. The editor was Stephen Day, and it was a YVX Media production for the Open Times.